Good to have you with us on this Wednesday edition of Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Thanks for all your comments and reaction to our show on RT America, which plays at 8 o'clock Eastern here in Washington, D.C., Monday through Thursday. And then, of course, you might wonder what I'm doing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Well, I'll be on the road doing some things. I'll be in Iowa this weekend. But the News with Ed Schultz plays Monday through Thursday. Then we do a sit-down interview for a half hour with newsmakers, which will play on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's a great gig. If you can get it, I got it, and life is good, and thanks for paying attention. All the folks that follow me on Facebook, I really appreciate it. There's over 320,000 now of you out there, and you've stayed with me through this transition. I appreciate it. And you can go to RT.com and watch the show every night, 8 o'clock Eastern. Or you could pick it up on Dish and in Direct. And I've had a lot of comments about, well, I can't get it on Dish and Direct. Just call your provider, and they'll tell you where it is, tell you how to get it. And on in some markets, they are assigned, obviously, a channel. They're higher up on the dial, on the digital meter than most cable outlets. But let me tell you something. Their shop is great. True professionals that go after the story. I'm really impressed. I could see myself doing this for a long time. I'm very comfortable. I enjoy the anchoring. And thanks for watching, and thanks for responding. Last night we did a big workup on not only Flint, but the entire state of Michigan and the austerity that these 6 radical governors have brought to America, and they're all failing. I mean, if Chris Christie was such a big success in New Jersey, he's right across the river from the media mecca of the world. How come he's not kicking ass in the polls? No, it's the guy who lives in Manhattan that's doing it, and that's Trump. Which takes me to today's first subject. I mean, yesterday I'm sitting in the office, I'm preparing for the show, and there's CNN, and they're carrying Trump live. MSNBC is on tape, and Fox is so pissed off at Trump right now, they're not going to carry anything the guy does. And so, and Trump knows this. He knows what's going on. He knows who's covering what. So Trump starts to let him have it. And he lets them have it because they're not covering it. And I think it made for a better press conference. So here he comes. I don't know if he planned to release it yesterday during this impromptu meeting with the media, but he ended up having it come out of his mouth that he's not going to show up at the debate. Here we go with a series of, I think, very entertaining cuts.
With me, they're dealing with somebody that's a little bit different. They can't toy with me like they toy with everybody else. So let them have their debate, and let's see how they do with the ratings. And I told them, I said, give money to the wounded warriors, give money to the veterans. They're going to make a fortune with the debate. Now let's see how many people watch. When they sent out the wise guy press releases a little while ago, done by some PR person along with Roger Ailes, I said, bye-bye, okay?
Folks, this is so who he is. That if I had to play throughout this entire election cycle one soundbite of Donald Trump, that would be it. He's telling one of the biggest media people probably in the history of the country, Roger Ailes, one of the most influential, one of the most operative, he's giving him the finger. I ain't going to your debate. Let's see how your ratings do. Trump knows who he is. He knows what he can do, how he can do it, and he's calling their bluff. Now, and then he talks about the wounded warriors and the veterans. Folks, being from the middle of the country, can I just tell you how good that's going to play? I mean, there's going to be a lot of people in rural Iowa that are going to view Trump as an unselfish guy, calling the wealthy out by saying, you know, you should donate to these guys. You see all these commercials of these wounded warriors on TV. You know, they've lost a limb, they've lost both legs, whatever. They're going through total rehabilitation in their life. Their life has been changed forever. They're hugging the family and everything else. And you sit there and watch these commercials and you think, gosh, how lucky am I? You know, to have all my faculties, to not have these issues in my life and not have things changed. And so Trump says, you know what, Ailes, you guys over at Fox, go have your debate without me. You're making millions of dollars on these debates. It's a political circle. I've already done 6 of these. Oh, by the way, give the money to the wounded warriors or the veterans. I'm going to tell you, folks, that plays so good in middle America. Trump may have won the Iowa Caucus on that alone. So he goes on to talk about the 6 debates and how he thinks he's actually done enough.
I've done 6 debates. I've done 6. According to every single poll, I've won every single debate. I've done 6 of them. And now you say, when does it stop? How many debates you have to do? The Republicans go on forever and ever and ever with debates. We have people on the stand that have 0, that have 1, that have nothing. So it's time that somebody plays grown-up. And then when I see a press release written by a child, like I just saw, I said, what do I have to do? Why do I have to make Fox rich? Let me make the wounded warriors rich. Let me make the veterans rich.
I bet Trump's next poll, he will jump 5 points. Now, this is January 27th, a Wednesday. These sound cuts came yesterday on the 26th in the afternoon, late afternoon. Okay, now let's see the next poll. I bet he goes up 5 points just on this press conference alone. All right, then he goes after Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly apparently has done some stories that aren't very, they're slanted against Trump. Let's put it that way. So he puts a video of Donald Trump posted on Instagram where he says that Megyn Kelly is biased.
Megyn Kelly's really biased against me. She knows that. I know that. Everybody knows that. Do you really think she can be fair at a debate?
Good question. What is Trump doing? He's engaging with the people who support him. He's basically saying, what do you think? Now, is this how he's going to be president? I mean, is Donald Trump going to ask the American people, what do you think? And I kind of sense that he would operate like that. And this plays to my comment previously that I really do think that he could function as president, no problem whatsoever. Now, policy, that's a different thing. He doesn't fit the liberal ideology, which I, of course, am connected to and believe in. But as far as functioning, I mean, this is engaging. And it's entertaining. Corey Lewandowski, who is a campaign manager, appeared this morning on one of the shows.
I just don't think so. I mean, what you have with Mr. Trump is you have a clear leader, a person who he said it best is not going to be toyed with, a person who understands when a bad deal is in front of him and is ready to walk away from a bad deal, something that this country should be able to do. And I just don't see any way where Fox is going to have a successful debate now when you've got the clear GOP frontrunner who's decided to walk away from this debate because he can't be treated fairly on the debate stage. You've got a network that wants to make news not about what they're going to ask the candidates about the policy issues, but about personal attacks. So, you know, maybe Fox was going to have a 20 or 25 million person debate, but without Mr. Trump's participation, I think they might have a 1 or 2 million person debate.
He goes on to say this about the debate.
Well, I think it was very clear. It's very hard to appear with someone, you know, a network which is going to be as biased as they have been against him. As soon as they put that press release out, you know, it was clearly a statement which, you know, they did it just to get his attention. This is something that Fox wanted to do to increase their ratings as it related to more people watching this debate. And, you know, it just doesn't make sense. You know, what we know is that Megyn Kelly is totally obsessed with Mr. Trump. She's done show after show about, you know, why the media shouldn't be having him on television. Donald Trump is the best debater on the debate stage. We know this. He's a clear winner. He has been by
Okay, now hold it right there. She's done stories. I don't watch her, but apparently she's done stories about how the media shouldn't have him on television. Well, Megyn Kelly, you got your wish yesterday because 2 of the 3 cable news networks didn't cover his press conference where he was ripping Fox a new one. Do you know how good your ratings would have been yesterday on Fox if you'd have carried Donald Trump live, saying that he had some chump PR person throw out this schoolboy type press release and he's not going to mess and announce he's not going to go on? That would have been awesome. But oh no, they're over there doing something else in Iowa. So look, Trump is in total command. It's desperation time for everybody else. Trump is actually, I think, doing a very smart, politically strategic move. Get out of the debate and see how bad the rest of them are. Because let me tell you something, the Republican Party has spent so much time trying to destroy our current president, so much time hating and baiting and racing that they don't even know who the hell they are. The Republican Party is still in the mode of a serious identity crisis. They don't have any ideas. They've even reversed their position on trade, a couple of them, such as Kasich, to get some attention. They waffle on immigration. They can't do the full-throated what they really believe in. They attack labor. They have no health care plan. All they want to do is privatize education and Social Security. And oh, by the way, they want to go to freaking war every other day. And so the Republicans are not going to get any headway whatsoever. Trump's sitting out of this debate, letting the rest of these jackasses waffle on stage. Is it going to do a damn thing to Trump? And I think he's going to run the table. I'll be shocked if he loses Iowa. To who? Cruz? Cruz is a nut job. You even got Rudy Giuliani coming out saying that he's too coarse. This is too good to be true. All right, when we come back on Ed Schultz News and Commentary, Tom Harkin, old friend of mine, former senator from Iowa, going to talk about the Iowa Caucus. Also with us, Ruth Conniff from the Progressive Magazine. It's all coming up here on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSave team bringing this production. We're right back. Hey, folks, you've heard me talk about BioGreen Clean. I'm going to show you right now on my airplane just how tough this is. I want you to keep in mind, chemical-free, 100% plant-derived, biodegradable. It is the safest cleaner that you can get, and it's the most effective. Go to our website, wegoted.com, or go to biogreenclean.com. www.biogreenclean and order today. It's time to continue our conversation about mechanical insulation. Mechanical insulation is for the piping systems in our nation's commercial and industrial facilities. Facility owners are burning up billions of dollars through the lack of mechanical insulation on these piping systems. Call the iSave team. Insulation saves America valuable energy, and this team of energy conservation specialists is shovel-ready to save you money. Visit iSaveTeam.org to have a specialist give your plant an energy audit. Ed Schultz News and Commentary with you from Washington, D.C. Good to have you with us. Thanks for the download. Thanks for the view. We're just a few days away from the first decisions being made by voters in this country. The Iowa Caucus coming up on Monday. I'll be in Iowa this weekend. I think it's time now to go to a voice of wisdom and experience and friendship. Former Senator Tom Harkin of Iowa joins us here on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Tom, it's great to have you with us, Senator.
Oh, Ed, it's nice to hear your voice. My gosh, we've had a long friendship for a long time, and I just appreciate you all the time. You know, every time I see these wackos on the air that are spewing all this right-wing nonsense and stuff, I say, well, now, where's my buddy Ed Schultz?
I appreciate that, Senator. I think you ran 1,000 races in your 50 years of public service. What? Give us an insight. How did you view polls? I mean, polls are all over the place. They're very, very close in Iowa. This is going to be a photo finish, maybe too close to call. Do they pay attention to them, or do they just say they don't pay attention to them to make the public think they don't? What does a poll mean to a candidate at this stage in the race?
Well, listen, having run all those races, like you say, Ed, you pay attention to the polls, but what you want to do is dig into the polls. You want to find out just what question was asked and who are these people, and look at the pollsters that do this for campaigns and the campaign people. They dig in and try to find out exactly what's underlying some of this stuff. Are there certain target groups, age groups in there, for example, that or demographic groups that swing the polls one way or the other? And then they target their ads or their mailings or their phone calls to those target groups. That's why when you look at just the numbers in a final poll, they're meaningful. But what's more meaningful is what goes into making up those numbers. Who are those people? And there's categories. There's those that will vote for you no matter. They'd vote for you if you died a week before the election. Yeah. And then there's others that wouldn't vote for you if you were the only person running. And then there's all these people in between that drift back and forth. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for how do we target those people in the end game.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up those demographics. In the most recent Quinnipiac poll, you've got men supporting Sanders by a wide margin of 63 to 32, while women back Clinton 54 to 40. Younger voters between the ages of 18 to 44 strongly take Sanders. And then 78 to 21%, Clinton is more popular with voters in the age bracket of 45 to 64. And I wonder, from your experience, have you ever seen this breakdown like this in Iowa before? Isn't this kind of a special caucus we're looking at?
Well, I don't know. I saw a little bit of that, perhaps not as profound, but some of that back when Obama ran in 2008. Mm-hmm. You had young people looking for someone new, someone different, someone unique, and I think you saw a lot of. I don't know for sure, Ed, but I bet if you went back and looked at those polls with Obama and Clinton back then, I think you might find some of the same dynamics. I think white men just seem not to want to be with Clinton, so they drift. I'm talking about on the Democratic side, and then
sure.
they go to somebody else. Women tend to be very supportive, and older voters who tend to value experience, value judgment, value the resume, so to speak. Is this person really ready to be president, for example? I think older people tend to give more value to that. Mm-hmm. Younger people give more value to something that is unique and different.
Mm-hmm. Senator Tom Harkin with us here on Ed Schultz News and Commentary from Iowa this day. Does Donald Trump entertain you, or does he scare you, or both?
That's a good question. Well, at first it was entertaining. I got to admit, even last summer when Trump was out there, you kind of laugh. You just got to laugh at this guy. But we kept thinking that, when he attacked John McCain, well, that might be that's going to be the end of him, and then the whole Megyn Kelly thing, and then I don't know if you caught this lately, Ed, but he was praising the leader of North Korea, mm-hmm. saying you got to give the guy credit. He comes in as a young guy and takes over and gets rid of, I don't know what the phrase he used, gets rid of or overcomes all of his enemies, even his uncle. Yeah, he had him killed.
Yeah.
I mean, is that what Donald Trump values? I mean, so my sort of my amusement of Donald Trump has turned into a real fear that this guy is swaying voters, people in America, and bringing them to a point where I think is dangerous to our democracy. I really do.
No doubt. Senator, have you ever seen the Republican Party in such disarray? I mean, if you look, I don't know what they stand for. I don't know what they want to do with health care. All I know is that they want to tax less and deregulate everything. Outside of that, they got nothing much on the table, do they?
I'm with you, Ed. I come from a state that is a swing state. We're sort of split right down the middle here in Iowa, and we've had Republican senators, Republican congressmen, Republican governors, Republican legislature. Then we have Democrats too. So I've grown up with, I've lived with Republicans. I've campaigned with them. I'm friends with them here in Iowa, and it's sad to see this. I mean, you might say, "Well, Harkin, come on, you're a Democrat and a liberal, a progressive," but that's okay. We need good competition. We need a conservative base in America to supply the kind of dynamics that you need in a democracy. But what's happened to Republicans now, and here in Iowa, is that this sort of goofy Tea Party group has taken over. And it's really sad to see. I'm with you. I've never seen the Republican Party in this state of Iowa and in the country like this ever before.
Well, they've spent so much time trying to stop everything President Obama's wanted to do, they forgot what the heck they're for.
I agree with that. I mean, they're just negative on everything. It's just voices of negativism from Cruz and Trump and just like almost every one of them. And even people that I think are responsible, moderate Democrats like John Kasich or Jeb Bush, even they get pushed to the right because of the force and the power of these right-wing Tea Party people in the Republican Party. It's kind of scary. I've never seen the Republican Party like this before.
You think Trump will get the nomination? I mean, if he wins Iowa, it looks like he might even run the table. What do you think?
He could. I mean, it is. I like I said, I don't get it. I don't understand my Republicans in Iowa who have been moderate to almost progressive Republicans and going for Donald Trump. I just it befuddles me. I got to admit to you that and as I said, it's scary. Let me tell you this. I have a friend of mine who is a Republican. Been a friend of mine for many, many, many years. He's tried many times to defeat me, but we've always been friends. You know, it's just we like each other, and he told me he can't even go to his caucus anymore. And I said, "What do you mean you can't go to your caucus?" Well, he's a Jeb Bush supporter. He said, "Look, if I go to the caucus like I did last time," he said, "I get booed, I get hissed, people call me a traitor." And here's somebody that's been a lifelong solid Republican.
Yeah.
You know,
they definitely got an identity crisis. So I got to ask you, how's life for Tom Harkin after all those years in the Senate?
Well, you know, retirement's not bad, Ed. I tell you, it's all right. I've got. Well, first, I must tell you, there's something called the Harkin Institute of Public Policy here in Des Moines. It's associated with Drake University, and we have the former Chief Justice of the Iowa Supreme Court, Marcia Turnus, is our director. And we have a small staff, but we're growing. We're doing some interesting policy work in different fields. So I'm spending a lot of time with the Harkin Institute in Des Moines.
That is fantastic. Senator, great to have you with us. Hope to run into you in Iowa this weekend. We'll be in touch. Thanks so much.
I better see you here in Des Moines or around someplace, Ed. I hope to see you.
I'll be hanging out somewhere. I'll bump into you.
Okay, buddy. Thanks, Ed.
You bet. Senator Tom Harkin, one of the great progressives and strong voices in a movement that did a lot of good for a lot of people here on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. When we come back, Ruth Conniff, stay with us.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania to the auto factories of Michigan to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
Well, the Oregon militants have been arrested. There was a shootout last night. We'll have full coverage and unfold it all with our reporters on the scene in Oregon on the News with Ed Schultz on RT America tonight. It's good to have you with us. Thanks for the download. Thanks for the listen. I want to go now to Ruth Conniff, who is the editor of the Progressive Magazine in Wisconsin. Ruth, good to have you with us.
Great to be here, Ed.
Okay, we're down to the wire. What's the call in Iowa? First, let's talk about the Democrats. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that Bernie continues to come on, and I think it's a big deal if he wins Iowa. But it's very tight, and the way the caucuses work, you don't know where the O'Malley voters are going to go, so you just don't know for sure. And it's been just fascinating to watch. I mean, for sure, the crowds, the level of enthusiasm, the sense of something moving is with Bernie, but everybody who supports Hillary and all of the Democratic Party affiliated organizations are out there with all of their staff just hitting it as hard as they can. So, it'll be very, very interesting to see Monday.
Well, it's all about turnout. It's hard to judge. The polls are something else. The most recent Quinnipiac poll shows that clearly younger voters are leading strongly to Sanders. Clearly older voters are leaning strongly to Hillary. It's a show-up time. It's who gets their people out.
And if younger voters vote, because they're notoriously unreliable. But if younger voters come out in force, that's right. I mean, millennials support Sanders 2-1.
So what if Bernie wins Iowa and he has a big lead in New Hampshire? What do you think that means, if anything? Because we've seen on both parties people win Iowa and it doesn't mean anything in the long run.
Right, but I think Iowa, New Hampshire, don't think he's going to win in South Carolina, but South Carolina is going to go Republican in a general election. He's building support in Nevada, which is very interesting. I mean, I talk to Jim Hightower all the time, who's just beside himself with excitement about Texas for Bernie. I mean, I think if he starts to put together a group of, credible wins and surprises people, he thinks that he may have some strength in up here in the industrial Midwest, then Hillary looks really weakened. And I think, one thing that happens there is that just feeds into the narrative that it's 2008 again. And from the sort of more mainstream political analyst perspective and the party leadership perspective, it feeds an idea that a concern about Hillary's ability to actually carry the day, which is still lingering from 2008. It is possible that he can build a path, but it is absolutely an uphill climb.
What do you make of the email story? Is that resurfacing now in a serious realm for Hillary? She brushed it off the other night in the town hall meeting with CNN. But I keep seeing these headlines and these stories that the FBI, this, that, and the other. I mean, is there room for concern there? I mean, and calling balls and strikes, is there room for concern here?
I mean, I think that people may or may not care about Hillary's emails. That was such a big applause line for Sanders in the debate when he said he didn't care about her emails. But I think I think that people have a shared sense that Hillary Clinton is an establishment politician who is not an idealist like Sanders. And she's trying to say that that's why people should support her. She is not somebody who is she's somebody who will compromise. She is somebody who got a lot of speaking fees from Goldman Sachs and says, nonetheless, she can regulate the banks, but she's not going to be leading an ideological charge against Wall Street the way Sanders is. And so, I think the email story is a similar story. Did she do something that wasn't really kosher? Yeah. Do politicians standardly try to make those kinds of dodges, not disclose things? Yeah, it's not Bridgegate, but that's the debate that's going on. And the question is, in this era of Occupy, of Fight for 15, of Sanders just really getting this intense reaction for speaking to people's economic anxiety and sense that the two major parties do not represent them. Can you run as sort of the safe establishment candidate and generate enough enthusiasm to get people out and say you're just more pragmatic? You're going to govern in prose, as she says, and poetry's all fine, but she's sort of the safe bet who can get things done. It's a kind of a hard sell unless you're running against somebody who people really, really, really come out to vote against. And I think people who are voting for a more idealistic, more progressive vision for America are voting for Bernie Sanders.
And it will all unfold or start to unfold on Monday in Iowa. Ruth Conniff, always great to visit. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, great to be with you, Ed.
You bet. Editor of the Progressive Magazine, Ruth Conniff. Now this.
We perpetuate a culture of crime all the way from Wall Street right down to the main street in our hometowns. It's worse than it has been since FDR took control of the problem and said we can't count on industry taking care of the American labor. They probably have already engaged into some type of criminal cover-up, and the law prohibits the government from even doing anything about it.
Catch America's lawyer Mike Papantonio on YouTube at youtube.com/GoLeftTV.
And you can follow me on Twitter at News with Ed. So do that. Like us on Facebook. Thanks for the listen this day. We're back tomorrow. This is Ed Schultz News and Commentary from Washington, D.C.